live and no longer in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
We are
Really
live.
no
So,
longer in
so
Las Vegas.
you spent a lot of time there, Nick.
I did these
what
last
was the
couple
deal?
of weeks.
Why,
Yeah.
why'd you
You
spend
just
so much
love it?
time there?
Well, everybody just loved it so much that we couldn't leave. No, my one son got sick, and then we thought kind of was on the mend, and the second son got sick, and then he got better, and then both of them had a fever again for another day, and then went away. So it's just like a constant cycle for the last couple of weeks. So we get stuck spending a lot of extra time there, and we didn't, of course, plan to do that. So we ended up having to hotel hop some just because of availability and price. So I stayed a whole bunch of places the last couple of weeks. I stayed at Delano. I stayed at I had a room at Park MGM because it was so cheap that it was worth it for the Hyatt points. So I used that to record a podcast episode and just stop at the Park MGM, change the kids, that kind of thing.
Any highlights?
So the signature at
lowlight?
MGM, we were talking about this last night. So my wife and I were talking about this on the way home last night. The signature at MGM Grand, I think, is sort of the sweet spot, because most places in Las Vegas, you can't get a microwave in your room or anything like that at all. And food has gotten so expensive on the Strip. I was really surprised. I remember casinos having I remember the 99-cent 3/4 pound hot dog that Westward Ho used to have, if anybody's old enough to remember that place, and things like that. So there were ways to eat cheap on the Strip back in the day, and they're just that doesn't seem to exist anymore. I mean, my mind is blown at $9 a slice pizza, and it wasn't like one place that it was $9 a slice. It was like $9 a slice everywhere. So if my family wants to get one slice each, it's $36 for one slice each. I mean, it's just, and then of course, it's also, they expect you to tip too. So and we're talking counter service, but anywhere you go, it comes up with the tip thing too. So it's not even just $9 a slice of pizza. So yeah, so that part got a little ridiculous. So anyway, so the signature, you had a kitchen with stuff that you could cook with, and a microwave and all the rest of that, which is not common. And the location is decent at sort of almost center Strip. So that was kind of my favorite place. Park MGM had the worst rooms, but the casino is totally smoke free. It was the nicest place to walk through in Las Vegas because it just felt so fresh. So, but yeah, I mean, we stayed at the Conrad, at Crockford's, at MGM Grand. I had a room at Excalibur, walked into it, and did a podcast episode there also. But yeah, so I actually will have a comparison post coming out of all the various places that we checked out in Las Vegas and what I thought the highlights and lowlights were of each of the places.
So total, it was 7. If you include the Excalibur and
Excalibur,
the MGM Grand, that's
Park
8
MGM,
total hotels.
MGM Grand.
Right?
Signature, yeah, no, 8, because Treasure Island I didn't mention either. Yeah, 8 hotels. Yep. So, and I definitely checked out the rooms in all 8. So yeah, it was 8 hotels, and we did some walking and that kind of when the kids got better. And I really enjoyed Resorts World. So the Conrad and Crockford's, the location there isn't great, but man, Delano has long been my go-to in Las Vegas, and right now with the ability to earn MGM, or rather earn Hyatt points and Hyatt Elite Night credit, Delano is still probably my pick for now. But when that promo is over, Conrad and Crockford's is that's where it's at. It's super nice if you're looking for a good, nice place to stay.
Glad
Yeah,
that you
because
got.
Resorts World is way far north, right?
That's the problem. That's right. It's north of Wynn and Encore. So yeah, it's not close to anything either. Delano and Resorts World are both in that same problem where they're at opposite ends, far away from everything. So if you want to be in the middle of the action, neither of those are going to be your pick. Although there's enough action, I feel like, at Resorts World now, nightclubs and whatnot, that's kind of a cool place to be anyway. And if not, you can walk across the street to Wynn and Encore.
That's right.
All right, you guys ready for question 1?
Yeah.
All righty, this one is for Nick.
Okay.
Which is great because you're the first one in my little line of little video heads. So Nick, the free cruise captain. I just booked a Holland, America, and Carnival cruise. How do you decide which deck to stay on and which activities to book? Feels hard to justify spending.
Yeah, so which deck? I look at the deck layout ahead of time.
Feels hard to justify spending $200 on an activity when the whole cruise costs $200.
Oh yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, and in fact, I'll skip ahead to that and say that we didn't book any activities on the cruises we've done so far through the cruise line. We've replicated some of them on our own separately for less, but I haven't booked anything through the cruise line. Now, If it's just my wife and I traveling, I don't know, maybe we would consider that because the cruise cost us so little, and the ease of booking it through the cruise line is, I suppose, nice. But with our kids, it's hard enough to plan and kind of be on a set schedule for an activity like that anyway. So it doesn't really appeal to us to begin with. And then the cost, again, you can almost always do it yourself more cost effectively. Just do a little bit of Googling if you want. So, and that's kind of our style. As far as choosing a deck, I always look at the deck layout, and I try not to be right above the restaurant or right below the pool, because I know there's going to be a lot of noise from both of those places. I look for where the nightclubs are, where the theater is, because I don't want to be near any of those things. So I look for a deck where there's rooms above and rooms below. That's, and I want to be on a deck that has guest rooms above and below, so I don't have to deal with any of that other noise. That's my preference. Now, some people will say you have more seasickness here or there or less or whatever. We try and stay around midship and somewhere like around the middle or a little bit higher than that. But you can't always be that picky. It depends on the sailing. And I'm not the world's foremost cruise expert. I would go to like frequentfloaters.com, one of those sites, the cruisecritic.com, that's dedicated to cruises, where you'll probably get even better advice than mine.
But you are the free cruise captain, dubbed
Well,
by this,
right.
Listener.
Right.
Can I ask, is
Aye,
that, are you the free cruise captain, or are you Captain Free Cruise?
Ooh, good point. I like that. Yes.
I thought you were
Yes.
Captain Free Cruise, but I might
Captain
have
Free
been
Cruise.
confused.
No. I am not the free cruise captain. Yes.
All
I'll
right.
be thankful for that.
So, Tim, you're up next. How much do you all spend on your AmEx cards to stay out of jail but still make other sign-up bonuses?
Nice. I like the translation of the subs there.
Getting it. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah. So and everybody else, this actually should probably be an all play, because I just kind of do what I do. For guys, so effectively for those who, when the questioner is talking about jail, there's a thing we call pop-up prison, where AmEx will effectively suddenly decide that there's no soup for you, that whatever you've done in terms of some magic combination of the cards you've signed up for and canceled, how you've operated within their system, they don't like you for a moment, and they're not going to give you any welcome bonuses. And it's been thought for some time that once you hit that pop-up prison, which they call pop-up prison because every time you go to a card, you get the AmEx pop-up that says we'll give you this card, but we're not going to give you any welcome bonus for the card. There's been a thought that in order to get out of this pop-up prison, you have to spend a certain amount of money on cards, or start spending regularly on the cards that you do have. I've never personally been in pop-up prison, and I rarely, for like a lot of the cards that we go through, like a lot of, but I think partially too, I do a lot of business cards, especially over this last year. We've just had these crazy offers on the business gold, the business platinum. So, and I think that seems to affect AmEx's willingness to put you into pop-up prison if you're churning business cards versus consumer cards, but nobody really knows for sure. All that to say, I do my normal spending on the AmEx Gold for the 4X at grocery. I do the normal spending to get my bonus categories on the Everyday Preferred, and I meet the sign-up bonuses on the new cards that I sign up. And then every year I usually put my taxes on some sort of sign-up bonus as well. But I really don't make an effort to spend a ton of money on the cards once I've met the sign-up bonus.
All right.
I'm going to add one little thing there. Yeah, I want to add one little thing, which is that it's total mystery, as Tim said, because while he said, maybe it's more on the business side, my son has it exactly the opposite way, that he keeps getting approved for business cards over and over, but has been in pop-up prison on the consumer side for years now, and just won't get approved for anything, even like a no-fee Hilton card or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know the solution as far as spend. We tried putting spend on his consumer cards. It didn't make any difference.
Yeah, but it does seem like the consumer side is trickier. Like the AmEx seems more sensitive on the consumer side than the business
Oh,
side.
okay. I misunderstood you then. I thought you were saying the other side.
Yeah,
other way
I
around.
know. Well, no, I totally agree. Yeah, for whatever reason, it seems like they have a slighter trigger on that side. But does anybody else, like Nick or Steven or Carrie, do you guys try to put spend on your
No.
AmEx cards? Yeah.
Anything out of the ordinary? No. Like got the Hilton Surpass cards, so we tend to do 15K on them.
Oh yeah.
Like where possible at grocery stores or restaurant spend or something like that. But other than that, and Amex Gold and meeting sign-up bonuses, then yeah, there's not really that much other Amex spending we do. Although I guess there's the occasional Amex offer that I'll do, like to take advantage of gift card deals on the side of that's got a little bit of incremental spending, but I haven't actually done all that much on the Amex offer side of things over the last year or two.
Yeah, I mean, same. Our Amex Gold and Business Gold cards get a fair amount of spend just because naturally the Forex categories there work out to be good. So they get a fair amount of regular spend. Our Platinum cards actually do get some spend now and then too, because sometimes we just have enough cards that we're looking to spread things around on, I guess. So, when we're doing some sort of MS stuff. So there are times when those get some purchases, but I don't make a conscious effort. And like the Spire card, forget it. Like that doesn't get, it just gets the resort credit charge once a year, whatever the airline fee credit charge once a year, and that's it. So but we don't also carry many consumer Amex cards. It's like the gold and a platinum, and maybe we have an everyday preferred, but I don't even know why we needs to downgrade to the everyday at some point.
All right, I'm going to shuffle us along to the next question. This is for Stephen.
It might be worth passing it to Tim, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
well done. Well played.
Not trying to play you under the bus here.
It's like a popcorn we used to play in elementary school. You can toss your question to somebody else. So Stephen's passing this to Tim. You said on a previous episode that you would update the MS resources. Did you do that? If not, is that still happening? What do you say, Tim?
Well, so first of all, I just want to say that I personally never said on a previous episode.
Fair.
So whoever made that comment should be the one that actually has to answer for that. But I don't. But so yes, we are. So we have a big, and I'm not sure exactly what the MS resources are. We have a lot of MS resources. One would be the guide to buying Visa and MasterCard gift cards that is updated and is kept updated and is fairly updated now. But we do also have a guide to manufactured spending that is in the process of being updated, and we should have it out by the end of this month. How's that for
We'll
all?
hold you to it. We'll hold you to it.
That was a long way of saying not yet.
Right.
But it was good. It was good.
But when it comes out, it'll be awesome. Let me tell you.
All right. So Greg, this person asks, how do I compare the price of a hotel room at $225 versus 8,000 Hyatt points? How would you do that comparison?
So I think what you're asking is how do you decide, is that a good deal, right? Whether to pay cash or points for that stay. And I mean, one way to do it is to think of your Hyatt points as being worth around 2 cents each, and you could look at the 8,000 and say, all right, well, that's costing me about $160 worth of Hyatt points. So that's less than the 225, and that's like just a nice easy way in your head to quickly do it. Or you could do like more scientifically. You could calculate it. You could calculate like the cents per point that you'd be of value you'd be getting from your points by taking the 225 and dividing by 8,000, and then you'll see something like in this example, I don't know what it would be, probably 2 point something. What was it?
2.81.
2.81. So that's pretty good. So you're getting almost 3 cents per point value. So that's good. And I would definitely use the points in that example.
So just to explain, because sometimes see people getting confused as to how to actually calculate cents per point value. I found like the easiest way to do it, like just when you're starting out, is to take the dollar amount and add on 2 zeros at the end, so that includes the cents. So you would have 22500, do that and then divide it by however many points you'd be redeeming, and then that's how many cents per point you'd be getting. And so that's just kind of like an easier way, especially
I
if
like
you
that.
math, that's a much easier way to actually
Smart
calculate
shortcut.
what it is, so that way you're not looking at, okay, it's like 0.02,
0.02, yeah, right,
0.02, whatever. And so
Yeah.
that just kind of makes it a bit
Yep.
clear that way.
Yep.
Oh,
That's a
you're right.
Great
I
idea.
just
Smart.
tested it.
Smart math shortcut.
Cool.
That's a great, Stephen, that's a great
I
tip.
like
But do you
that.
have is there an easy conversion for pence per point? So once we have that, is there like is there just like a modifier we can calculate that by?
I'm sure there's some kind of like Forex website that we can work out, or well, ChatGPT or something like that. We can work it out if we want it.
Actually,
hands and pen.
that leads us nicely into this next question, which I'm going to pose to everybody. What new business or service should someone create to support the points and miles hobby? What need and opportunities do you see? Do we need a tuppence to pennies calculator? Or whatever.
I'd say ignore. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Almost ignore that side of things, because if you're wanting to create a business or service, I think your bigger focus should be on creating a business or service that's going to make you money and which you're going to enjoy doing, and which can turn into either a decent side hustle or an actual full-time job for you, if that's kind of what you're looking for. And then kind of anything else off the back of it will be gravy, basically, because it would suck to be creating something that you're miserable at each day just for the purpose of, okay, well, it lets me charge $1 million a year onto my cards or something like that. On a more practical note, I guess like probably like reselling of some variety, or where you are going to have high cash spend, or where you're going to be doing like high advertising costs or something like that, but where you know that it's going to guarantee you sales or something like that. So you're getting high spend on the advertising side of it, but then getting a fair bit of it back. But I'd go for the making money and doing something you'd enjoy.
I think, or am I reading the question differently than you, Stephen? I think this person is asking, what needs do people in the miles and points community have that they could create a business to support, like an award booking service, for instance, or which I think anyway, that's the way I read the question. Like, what would the new business be that we all need, that we wish somebody would do?
Yeah. I totally missed it. Yeah, I misread that. You're right. Yeah, because I was thinking of it in terms of like what business can they create where it'll generate a lot of spend.
Generate points. Yeah,
okay,
exactly. Yep. I realized that's the way you were answering it, and so that's why I jumped in. And I that's a really good question. I feel like there are a lot of times where I feel like, oh, somebody ought to do this or do that and offer that as a service, but I don't know as though I have the answer off the top of my head. Somebody else have an idea here?
Maybe we'll, if not, we can circle back to it at the end.
Okay, wait. Before you move forward, I wanted to hop back really quickly to the Hyatt thing, because I think that maybe we left a little bit in between the lines there. Because Greg, you mentioned like if you value your Hyatt points at 2 cents, and that's a good answer for this particular question. But for somebody who has that question in general, what I think you might be missing is we have a reasonable redemption value for each currency. And so if you go to our reasonable redemption values page, that's going to tell you what we think is a reasonable amount to accept for that currency or better. So if you do the math that Stephen just taught you there, and you see, okay, we're getting 2.8 cents per point, that's more than frequent milers' reasonable redemption value of 2.1 cents. And we put those reasonable redemption values in to say this is what you can reasonably expect to get without a ton of effort and maximization. So 2.8 is much better than our 2.1 reasonable redemption value. So you'd say, okay, I'm getting a reasonable amount here. And don't forget, you may want to consider taxes and resort fee and things like that you're not going to pay, for instance, when you redeem Hyatt points, also when you're calculating.
That's really good ad, Nick. And just to elaborate what he just said is like, if you saw that 225 rate at the, like when you're going to pick your room, that's not the end of the story.
Right.
You need to click all the way through to like the last screen where you would actually pay to find out what the actual full cash rate is. That's the number to compare it to the points price, because the points price won't include any of those fees, or hardly ever. Sometimes there's like a couple dollars that are tacked on depending on where you're staying, but that's unusual.
And I just shared a link to the reasonable redemption values on YouTube. So if anyone wants to see that, the link's in the comments there.
And if you're really glad that Stephen shared that link, go ahead and like our video. Seems like a good.
Nicely
done.
Even if you're mad that he shared that link,
Either way,
still
just
like the video.
Click
like
thumbs
the
up.
video. Yep, that helps us out. We don't understand how, but it does. All right, so I think we're at Nick now. What cashback percent rate would you need to earn to be on team cashback?
Oh, rather than earning points, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
that's a like an everywhere sort of I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure. I feel like the Bank of America Premium Rewards with Platinum Honors at 2.625% cash back is like pretty much on the cusp of, man, I probably should be team cash back on those everywhere else type of purchases. But yet I still enjoy redeeming points at better value because, our reasonable redemption values is like a floor value, but I enjoy redeeming points for what feels like much greater value. So there's some, wishy-washy part of that. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't
Anyone
answer
want
that.
to steal the question from Nick, or shall we move along?
I guess I don't know that any, for me personally, I don't know that I'm not, I guess it depends on what team cash back means.
I interpret that to mean, rather than earning points, you'd be happier earning cash back
On everywhere. Because I think what's hard though is so much of the spend is either bonused or so much of the spend is either bonused or working towards a welcome bonus.
Right.
And so a lot of the welcome bonuses, like for instance, I cash a massive amount of membership rewards points out at 1.1 cent a piece. But I'm earning them because I'm using sign-up bonuses and multipliers at probably a rate that's somewhere between, say, 5 to 7x on average, right? So that's 5.5 to 7.7% cash back. And that's how I'm redeeming a lot of those. So I wouldn't necessarily say that to me, it doesn't seem like it's an either or. It's about finding the best return, as well as, there's that aspirational side that Nick talks about and that Greg always talks about, kind of the joy of free, that I completely buy into. That like the reality is, if I do an all cash back, I'm never going to spend $3,000 to go on Turkish business, but I'll do it for 85,000 points because or whatever it might be in the given program. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity to get excellent cash back even through points without necessarily having a cash back card.
Great point. Yeah, great point. Because I think of the AmEx Gold card. I think of that at the grocery store as a floor 4.4% cash back card, right? I mean, it's because I think I do the same thing. I redeem a decent number of points anyway at 1.1 cent each because I'm earning them at that rate. And I figure, okay, well, there's not a card I'm going to do much better than 4.4% back at the grocery store. So how much better than that would I have to do to be like, okay, put away the gold card? I mean, obviously no less than 5%, but even that I'd be hesitant because I could redeem those membership rewards points for much more. So I don't know where the number is.
And I need to jump into and just say that when these guys are talking about redeeming their points for 1.1 cent each, it's because they have probably balances over 1 million points, I would guess. If they had smaller balances, they wouldn't want to do that so much because they want to keep those points available to transfer to ANA or whatever the program is that's going to offer the outsized value. And am I
100% right?
So Nick's nodding. I don't know if Tim is agreeing or not.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
If I would never have my membership rewards balances go below 100 or 200,000 points. I would never redeem down to zero. I would always want to keep a stash there so that I could do exactly things like that.
And we have 2 kids, so I'm more at like 300,000 or 400,000 is my because I got 4 passengers, right? So that's kind of like my floor that I don't really want to dip below 300,000 or 400,000 membership rewards points.
And it kind of that too makes this question more complicated, right? Because like when your balance of transferable points is low, then the value of earning more of those instead of cash is much higher. Like you'd much prefer to earn more of those transferable points because of the opportunities they present. But once you're I've got over 1 million of them, the incremental value of getting more is it's not that much. So then you might as well get cash back, whatever the best cash back option is, which sometimes means getting membership rewards points and cashing them in.
Yeah, well, and like the business platinum offers the 150,000 points on 15K spend. If you cash that out, that's 1650 plus whatever the points are earned on the spend. So more like $1,800 or whatever it may be. If you just cash those out at 1.1 cent each, so if you've got more than 1 million points and you can open another business platinum card and meet that spend, that's a great cash back return, on the 15K spend. So yeah, I agree with Tim. I'm kind of doing that to some extent.
That's an interesting kind of side plot to that question. Where are we at? I think Tim. Hey all, I have the Barclays, now Wells Fargo, no fee choice privileges credit card. It's my oldest card. Is there a way to get one of the new Wells Fargo cards to get the sign up bonus without closing my current card?
Yes, you absolutely can. Your Barclays card, your whatever you hold for Barclays will not affect Wells Fargo at all. So you can just sign up for the card and you'll meet the minimum spend and you'll be able to get the bonus.
I think they mean because the Barclays cards are just moved over to Wells Fargo, they've been transferred over, so they now have a Wells Fargo choice card. So they're concerned about.
Oh, they have the Barclays choice card. Oh. Well, so as far as I know, Wells Fargo doesn't have any sort of limits on those cards with the ones that came over though from Barclays, do they?
Not well. So I had written a post about like when the choice cards came out, and in the comments someone had mentioned what the rules are about getting a new card. So it says you may not be eligible for an introductory bonus rewards offer if you open a Choice Privileges MasterCard credit card or Choice Privileges Select MasterCard credit card within the last 15 months from the date of this application, and you received an introductory bonus rewards offer. So to me, that makes it sound like certainly if they haven't gotten a bonus from Barclays in the last 15 months, they should be absolutely safe. And kind of the way that I read that, but also the fact that it makes reference to opening the kind of Wells Fargo version of it, that makes it seem like to me, even if they had only just opened up a card with Barclays, that they would be able to get a bonus with Wells Fargo as well. That's how I read it. But the cards have only been around for a week or two since they got moved over, and so I don't think we've had any data points yet of people actually being able to do that. So
all right, sounds pretty thorough. Now we're at Stephen. Thoughts on the Aeroplan card? Is it a keeper?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what you'd be using it for and how much spend you'd be putting on it. Like at 3 extra grocery stores, then it's pretty compelling if you can generate a lot of spend that way. If you could generate, is it 1 million of spend a year or something like that to get the companion pass, then absolutely it's going to be a keeper. Whether or not you'd be better off putting that spend on a different card is a whole other matter. But kind of as with all cards, I think it completely depends on your individual situation as to whether or not it's going to be a keeper and how you use the card, how frequently you're redeeming for Aeroplan.
I feel like this is a good question for Greg, because Greg's been the one that's been kind of like interested in the card, even though you admitted on the podcast last week, you were like, I kind of want this card, but I don't even know that it makes sense. So you said something to that effect, right?
Well, yeah, because so I had temporary like high tier status with Air Canada Aeroplan because of a stupid press event where they gave it away to some people, and then the card last year they had a deal where they said if you earn this many points from the card, you get to keep whatever status you have now for a whole nother year. And I thought, well, that'd be great. So I tried to get the card and failed. I was over 524 at the time, and so I couldn't get the card. But no, I mean, unless you're pursuing elite status with Aeroplan, like I don't think the card makes a lot of sense. Or if you're like a very heavy churner who can spend a lot at grocery stores, then it certainly can make sense from that point of view, because it's uncapped 3 points per dollar at groceries, so that's pretty good.
All right. This next one is also yours, Greg, so stay at the mic. Would you top up Marriott certs with membership rewards points if you didn't have bonvoy points?
Yeah, so the question is because you can transfer 1-to-1 from Amex to Marriott, and we always say don't do that because the value of Amex points is so much more than typical value of Marriott points. But so here's the thing: you could usually buy, you can always buy Marriott points for, I think it's 1.25 cents each when they're not on sale, and when they are on sale, they go down to around 0.9 cents each. So like, if I was in that situation where I was doing like a high value award redemption, I would be looking at like, first, could I just buy the Marriott points that I need? Or I might even consider transferring from Chase while it has that 50% transfer bonus, would be another way if you have Chase points. But anyway, I would look at, can I buy them for about 0.9? And if not, would I buy them at 1.25? I don't know. At that point, it's like, are you willing to get 1.25 cents value from your Amex points in order to make that redemption? And it just kind of depends. If you're flush with Amex points, then it's good. I mean, just like we were talking about earlier, if guys are willing to cash out their points for 1.1 cent each, then cashing them out basically for Marriott points that you need to complete an award, that makes sense too.
I mean, I guess another thing to add would be if you're working on the sign-up bonus for a new credit card, then doing that could effectively drop your kind of net cost of actually buying them in terms of the additional rewards that you'd earn on that. Plus, you can click through from shopping portals when buying from points.com. I'm assuming points.com is who does Marriott points purchases. Yeah. And so you can earn like another like 2 or 3% that way. And so that kind of reduces the cost a little bit more. So like Greg said, like if you'd be cashing out for 1.1 anyway, then it could be worth it, but it might be still possible to drop the kind of net price a little bit further to make it worth just buying outright, especially if it'll help you meet the sign up bonus.
All right, on to Nick. I got the Citibank AA Platinum card and they haven't given me the sign up bonus because they say I didn't receive an offer, but that's not true. Should I apply for the AA business card and take screenshots?
That doesn't sound normal to me. I don't know. It would. So when you, I guess my first question when I see that is, well, how long has it been since you met the spend? Like, and when did this all go down? Like, did you meet the spend definitely within the amount of time you needed to? And has it been like a month or two? So you know you're not getting the bonus. Like, I always get hesitant when people say something like this because my first reaction is, okay, well, sometimes we get this comment and someone's like, well, I met the spend requirement last week and I don't have the points yet. And I say, well, okay, you may just need to wait a little longer. Sometimes these things take a little bit of time to post. And I don't even know the schedule off the top of my head with Citi. Then my second reaction is, okay, well, sometimes we'll get this comment from someone who says, well, I met the spend requirement last week and I haven't gotten the bonus. And I called customer service and they told me that they don't see an offer. And then my reaction there is like, I don't know how much faith I would put in that customer service agent to actually know what's up because they're so frequently wrong with whatever they tell you. So that's why I feel like there's a number of pieces here that it's hard for me to kind of troubleshoot that without knowing a lot more detail and asking a lot more questions as to exactly what happened with that. That's not a normal scenario, though. If you're telling me, like, if this happened a few months ago and you met the spend within the spend requirement and months have passed and you didn't get the points and you asked and they said, no points for you, that would seem strange to me. So I don't know what caused that. So I'm not sure if I would go back again at them without trying to figure out why it didn't work the first time around. But in general, yes, I always keep screenshots of everything. I take screenshots when I apply for a new card. I take screenshots throughout the process, actually. The landing page, like as I start to fill out information in the application with the offer there, I probably take far more screenshots than I'll ever need, but they take up like a couple of kilobytes each. So it's not like, a huge amount of space that's, going to kill me anytime soon. So I'd rather have, a ridiculous number of screenshots and be able to say, hey, listen, here's a screenshot than be in a situation where I can't do that.
Do they all just sit on your desktop?
No, they sit in a folder.
Okay,
they each have their own tab.
Okay, good.
Right.
All right, glad you
So that's why your laptop runs so slowly.
Yeah, it hasn't been your internet connection this whole time.
Right. It's just the screenshots.
All right. This next one is for Tim. I think this is a good one. Why is there so little talk about travel to South America in the points and miles world? Most blogs only talk about travel to Europe and Asia.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think it's an astute observation. I think that we all, and actually I would say we all, this has been a topic of conversation amongst all of us over the last couple of years, or a year at least, that there is sort of this dead spot in the points and miles universe around South American travel. I mean, from the US, and there's a lot of reasons. It could be, there's just the sheer numbers. There's a lot more people that go from the US to Europe and Asia than there are from the US to South America. There's a lot of, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that go back and forth between South America and the US, but the numbers are just way higher to East and West. Also, I think, there's a lot of, once you get into this side of what the hobby of the game, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of these aspirational business class and first class products that exist in the world almost exclusively. They're products that fly to primarily Asia, but in some cases Europe, but primarily Asia. South America as a whole is not serviced by a lot of aspirational first class, business class products. Not that there aren't good things that go down there, but they're just not there. So in terms of people that are trying to sort of get Emirates first class or get Lufthansa first class, that sort of thing doesn't really exist to South America. And I think, and probably, because it's just much more common for people to go to Asia and Europe, the reality is most of us, by the time we get into this side, have already been to Asia and Europe. And we've already gone there. We're familiar with it. We know it. And so when you go back, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to Croatia, as opposed to, I'd really like to go to Bolivia, Now, all that to say, I completely agree with what you're saying, with that point, that it's a big dead spot, and it's something that we as a team really want to kind of wrap our heads around to learn. And in fact, one of Carrie's sisters is planning a trip to Argentina, and she's enlisted Nick and I because we're Team Americas for the new challenge. We're going to actually be kind of doing some research with her, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get some fun stuff out of that.
Just don't give away.
Lined up waiting to see if they were going to mention anything about their plans.
I know. They just said on pins and needles there. That's why she was so tickled when this question came in.
Yes. There a hint about
it's actually Carrie's sister that wrote the question.
Like so.
So the laughter, for somebody who's not familiar, is because if you've missed and you don't know Frequent Miler well enough yet, you're new to us. We've got this challenge coming up, and so when he said we're Team Americas, what he means is that we're doing a challenge this year. We do an annual challenge. This year's challenge is that we're going to be visiting Asia. So we're all flying together, the five of us, in Japan Airlines business class to Tokyo. And from there, Stephen and Carrie are planning a multi-day itinerary that the rest of us don't know anything about. Mm-hmm. And then we're flying back to San Francisco, all five of us together in ANA first class, because we found award availability for that. And then Tim and I are taking over for several days as Team Americas, so to speak. And that's why there's the laughter there, because we don't know. In fact, just today I was thinking, oh, I know we're going to go here and here in a month, and I have no idea where else. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of wild thinking that we've got this trip brewing.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. Sometimes people, like in real life, ask me, are you going anywhere interesting soon? And I'm like, well,
probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right.
I know, but
yeah, I don't know where I'm going from there. That's a really interesting conversation to have, right?
It really is.
Yeah. I'm packing a coat. Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. All right. So I think we're at Stephen. Is that right? Could you please give us an update on the Etihad first class apartment potential rescheduling with Aeroplan? Ooh. Can't seem to reach Lisa. This is oddly specific. And Aeroplan is not providing any options beyond point refunds.
I think Nick.
Yeah,
this
I
one
need to
Nick,
follow
he's
up.
been in
Yeah.
correspondence with them.
Yeah, no, I need to follow up with them because I did notice a number of those comments come in and I have not followed up yet. I've had other stuff going on. And so I will mark that now as something for me to do tomorrow to follow up with Aeroplan, because they had told me that they would take care of it sooner than this and get back to me and keep me in the loop, and they haven't. So but I'm sure that was an oversight. And so I'll send an email and hopefully we'll get that resolved, or at least get an update. And once I hear back, I'll be sure to update the post. So I would look for that within the next day or two. They're usually pretty good at getting back to us quickly. So hopefully.
All right. Another good reminder. So this one we'll give to Stephen then. I've read that it could be more difficult to get approved for Chase business cards after 2 or 3, especially for newer, smaller sole proprietor businesses. Do your chances improve if you cancel the ones you have?
Ultimately, there's kind of a limit as to how much credit Chase will extend to you. And so it might be that cancelling will improve your chances, but it might also just be that you can call up their reconsideration line and ask them to move some of the credit line from one of those cards, or even possibly more than one card, to a new business card, and they might be willing to do that. I've just done that on the personal side of things to be able to get the Sapphire Preferred. I haven't had any luck getting any Chase business cards over the last year or two. I've been eligible for them, but because of our living situation, then I've had an impossible time actually proving what our home address is, because we don't actually have one. And so I've effectively been getting declined on that side of things. But I have 3 Chase business cards, and it certainly seemed like they were willing to extend a 4th one to me if I could just simply prove where I lived. And so it's possible, but at the same time, my sole proprietor business isn't exactly new as such, and so it might be the new one you might have a harder time with as well. Have you guys had a different kind of experience?
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds
I haven't
never
pushed.
had any issues with. Yeah, I think my wife and I both have 5 Chase business cards right now. And there's the number. I completely agree with what Stephen said. Then it seems like it's more based on the total credit. The conversation has always been around the total amount of credit extended, and not around the number of cards. Chase doesn't seem to really be that. I mean, outside of the 524 thing, Chase doesn't really seem to be that concerned about how many total cards you have as opposed to the total credit.
All right. This next one is a fun hypothetical. So this is for everybody. Okay. Each of you is getting shut down from all the banks. However, banks are being kind and will allow you to transfer all of your points to one program per bank. Which do you choose?
It's an all play. It's an all play.
Well, yeah.
But I feel like Chase goes without saying.
Right. I think we all
Southwest.
probably transfer to right.
Yeah.
One
No, Chase will
program
all transfer
per
to
bank.
Hyatt, obviously.
Yeah.
So what about AmEx?
Oof.
I think I'd almost be inclined to do Aeroplan, I think. But ANA has potential, Virgin is very risky, but has potential, Life Miles has potential.
That's tough. So I think it probably depends on the balance in each program, because there's part of me that says maybe I'd like to put them in the same currency. Maybe I want to put all the points in the same thing. So I want to pick a partner that's partners with everybody. But then there's another part of me that says, well, if I have enough, I could split it amongst a couple of programs. So then
Let's say you have 1 million points in each program, and you don't have any existing miles in anything.
That's
wow.
a great hypothetical. So why don't you lead us off here, Greg?
Okay, well,
This
so
might
I
take
agree
some
with
stewing.
Stephen. I think Aeroplan's the way to go with AmEx, because Aeroplan has so many partners that it just has so many. Wherever you want to go, there's probably an Aeroplan partner that you can get you there. Citi,
Choice or Turkish, right? Yeah, those would be my two. You'd
well,
probably not yours.
no, you've got
might have to
Air France is another.
Another
option.
I'd be tempted by Avianca as well. Just they're such a pain in the butt to deal with, but I find myself doing so many redemptions through them just because you can get so many rates. But I don't know. Do you want 1 million Avianca miles? Gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that was my thought with Amex, that I might transfer them to Avianca because I do use Avianca the most often, I think, which I know probably isn't true for Greg because he doesn't fly Star Alliance as much, which is probably why, like an Air France might make more sense to you, or that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's really tough. I don't know if I can answer it. I would want some in Turkish. I would want because there are a number of different sweet spots with Turkish. It's not just the 7,500 miles each way to Hawaii. It's 45,000 miles to Europe. It's 49,000 miles, 47,000 miles to the Middle East, and a number of other good sweets, 52.5 to India. So Turkish has a whole bunch of different good sweet spots. I wouldn't mind having a million, except that they expire in 3 years. So now that I said that out loud, a million that expire in 3 years.
That'd be tough.
Never mind. And if I'm going to get shut down from all the banks, do I want Avianca? Because those expire after 12 months without activity.
Yeah.
These are very niche.
So what about Capital One? Would that be Wyndham for Vacasa, or would you go for something else?
I mean, all the arguments for Air Canada make sense to me. So maybe Air Canada would be the pick there because, like Greg said, the number of partners is really intriguing, and the creative routings you can put together is intriguing, even if they're not necessarily the best prices all the time. So maybe I would do Air Canada with Amex, and maybe you convince me, Greg. I'd do Air Canada with Amex and Capital.
It's hard. I wouldn't do Wyndham with Capital One because since they so often have sales for 1 cent each.
Yeah.
But there's a limit as to how many you can buy each year.
Well,
so,
that's true.
That's true.
But, and you don't have the Wyndham Enter business because you got shut down.
Right. Yeah, but they let you book a Vacasa rental for somebody else. So my mom could buy Wyndham points and book Vacasa rentals for me, or my dog could probably buy some Wyndham points and book Vacasa rental. That wouldn't be much of a concern to me, the limit in buying them. So I agree with Greg on that. I wouldn't transfer to Wyndham.
I like that question. Any final thoughts?
That's a fun question.
It is a fun one.
I forget where we're at. Stephen or Greg, whichever of you want to answer this one. If you don't rent, can you use a Bilt card to pay for cell phone service with ACH? If so, do you also get the cell phone insurance? Anyone else?
So
that's probably Greg's question.
So you may be able to pay the cell phone payment, but Bilt does not officially allow that. That said, there are people who have said that they've had success paying their cell phone bill that way. So you may be able to. Do you get the cell phone insurance that comes with the card? No, I'm sure you would not get. Well, should I say I'm sure? I don't think you would get the cell phone insurance by doing it that way, but I don't actually know.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like buying it because like the rent. Yeah, well, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it shows up on your statement, I mean,
yeah,
maybe you would.
Yeah,
maybe you would.
All right. I'm going to move us along then. I think Nick. I'm introducing player 2 to the game. I currently have 5 chase cards, personal and business. I can't decide if I should have him stay in the chase system with me or sign up with Citi or Capital One.
Well, I think that most of us would agree that if you're starting sort of with a clean slate, then you want to get the chase cards that you want before you end up over 524. So I could see the wisdom in sticking in the chase ecosystem. Now, that said, I feel like maybe that the importance of that is overblown because is your player 2 actually going to open more than 5 in the next 2 years? Because if not, then I don't know if it really matters that much. And Chase has not had the best welcome bonuses in general. They've had, some that have been quite good. Those ink bonuses at 90K were great. And if you can still find one, awesome. But, they don't have anything like the AmEx Platinum 150,000 or the AmEx Gold 90,000, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, Sapphire Preferred, I guess, is close right now in value. To that. But I feel like there's more opportunity to amass a big pile of points on the Amex side, or Capital One also, for that matter. If you don't have a lot of other cards yet, Capital One will probably be easier to get. I think I would probably look at more, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Are you looking to stay at a bunch of Hyatt properties? Because if you are, then the Capital One points aren't any good for you. You're going to want to pick up those Chase cards. And if you're more interested in lots of premium cabin flights, well, maybe you'll be more interested in a different kind of points like Amex or maybe Capital One.
And
All right.
I've got something to add to that, which is if you're into hotel cards, whether you're talking about Chase or other companies, if they have an annual free night certificate, there's an advantage to having player 2 sign up for that card at the same time of year that you signed up for that card. So you could sign up for them at the same time, or if you signed up for it like in June, have player 2 wait until June. And the reason for that is that having 2 free night certificates each year that have the same or close to the same expiry date is much easier to deal with for when booking trips. So you're trying to book a weekend away, and if you're saying, oh, I want to stay in October in Chicago for the weekend, but my cert expires in September, and so I can use player 2's cert, but that only gives you one of the 2 nights. It can be a hassle. So that's my advice there.
And then like something else that I'd add is, what would your player 2 be most wowed by? Some kind of luxury hotel stay or some kind of like business or first class flight redemption? Because if you're just introducing them to this, I'm guessing that you kind of want to get them like a little bit deeper into the game and being willing to apply for more cards. So if you can get them started off on a good footing with either like say a luxury hotel stay with Hyatt or something like that, or like ANA first class or something like that, going the Amex side, then kind of going that route might be better, because then they're more likely to then apply for other cards and kind of join you in the points collection process further down the line as well. So that's something else to consider.
Yeah, it's hard to dislike something that gives you a first class flight. All right. So,
which is why we all love Greg.
So many reasons to love Greg. All right. I think I can't remember where we're at yet again. I'm going to go Tim, because I don't feel like you've gotten a question in a while. If you restricted yourself to, this is another hypothetical game. If you restricted yourself to only 2 hotel programs, what would they be? Considered cards, free night certificates, ease of acquisition of points, availability for family stays.
That's a good question. And I think there's a different, and there could be different answers for me versus for someone else that might be starting from zero. Because for instance, I already, the vast majority of my stays go through Hyatt, but I think Hyatt, I'm a globalist. Hyatt as a globalist, is a top tier elite, is an incredible program. They offer a ton of value. The points are easy to use or earn because of Chase, or I shouldn't say easy, but they're easier than many because of Chase Ultimate Rewards, transferring 1-to-1, and they actually offer good value at that 1-to-1 transfer. But where I think Hyatt really sucks is in their below top tier status. They have 3 levels, and the first 2 get you very little. And I think that's where the tough part is that, for Marriott or Marriott, I'm supposed to say, but Marriott is how the whole English world pronounces it. And Hilton, you can actually get credit cards that will give you status that is meaningful, that can get you breakfast for you and your family, that can get you some upgrades. Whereas Hyatt's, technically you get upgrades as a tier 1 or 2 elite status, but you really don't. It's kind of like all or nothing with Hyatt. And I think that's a real weakness to the program when you're starting off from zero. And they have these sorts of promotions like that they just did with Bilt, where you can get an accelerated fast, but still for the average person, you have to stay 20 days or 20 nights in a short period of time. And that most people don't do that. So that would be my sort of asterisk. If I were going to go to 2, I would probably go to Hilton and Hyatt, simply because they're both really easy to earn. They both have the Hilton free night certificates are terrific, easy to redeem, and redeemed at some terrific properties. And I think where Marriott really falls down is that they don't, while they have marvelous properties, earning the points is a lot more difficult than it is with Hilton and with Hyatt. But if I were going to start from zero, Hilton would definitely be in there, and I would really be tossed up between Hyatt or Marriott and maybe even IHG, but probably it would be Hilton and Marriott, just because of the lack of Hyatt's ability to get, for Hyatt's ability to provide value for people that don't have top tier elite status, especially if you're going with a family and you have multiple people that are having breakfast and all that sort of thing. But I don't actually have a family, so I'm always doing for two.
Anyone
Nick,
disagree?
Would
Yeah.
you throw something different when you're traveling with four?
No, I think everything you said makes sense, except for, would we call Hilton free night certificates easy to redeem? I mean, they're not difficult to redeem. You got to call though. You can't do it online. You know, that's my annoyance.
No, yeah. I mean, just in terms of the, there's no
like
point limit.
no
There's
no
no
limit.
you
Yep.
can do it,
Fair.
you know. But yeah, no,
Good point. Good point. Good point. Good point.
So like just
go
adding on to like the family, I mean, I don't travel other than with my wife and dog, but like on the family side of it, I think Hyatt can be a good one, just because if you're staying somewhere like a Hyatt place, you can often easily sleep 6 people comfortably in a room if you get a room with 2 queen beds and then the sofa bed, like if you've got your kids with you. I personally probably choose IHG as my other one, just because I found that in terms of award redemptions, I'm getting much better value with Hyatt and IHG than I am with Marriott and Hilton nowadays. Plus IHG points you can buy for half a cent a point, probably like 6 months of the year total. And so they're really easy to stock up on. And especially if you have an IHG credit card and you're getting the 4th night free, if you're staying for 4 nights, then that can be an incredibly valuable benefit. And so I think those are the 2 programs that I'd be most sad about going away. But in terms of family travel, I don't know how great IHG is for that compared to somewhere like Marriott or Hilton, where you might get like a Homewood Suites with Hilton, or like a Town Place Suite or Residence Inn with Marriott, where you can sleep like quite a few people in a room and have a kitchen and things like that.
Well, I mean, IHG's got its, Candlewood Suites.
IHG has like Staybridge Suites and Candlewood Suites, but usually Candlewood Suites, your base room with points is a Queen Studio, or maybe a King Studio, and they don't have a sofa bed in there, and so you're kind of limited as to how many people you can sleep in there. Staybridge Suites, similar kind of situation, and so that's just why I'm like, for the family point of view, that's not necessarily going to be as great.
They are everywhere though.
Out of curiosity, I've never heard the term social bed before.
Social bed?
Social bed.
Sofa bed.
Oh, sofa bed.
Sofa.
Okay.
Sofa bed.
The social bed is where you throw the keys into the bowl beforehand, I guess.
That's like the audio version of a typo. That's pretty good. Do we think we have time for one more question? If so, I have it queued up.
Yeah, I think
all right.
we can 3 minutes, yeah.
I started a 4-day Hyatt mattress run today for the Bilt challenge. I considered a longer stay, but decided against it to keep it reasonable. Any mattress running gone wrong? What not to do tips? I feel like we were discussing this recently.
I mean, so if you're not actually staying there, I would be hesitant to like check in and never go back again, only because sometimes that'll get you checked out if they see you're not there for days. So if you haven't talked to anybody at the hotel and you're not going to go back, then yeah, I guess I'd be hesitant to do anything really longer than that. And even at 4 nights, I would probably just explain to somebody at the desk, listen, I don't actually need all 4 nights, but I do need the elite credit. So I'm happy to, pay for it, but please keep me checked in. And I would just be honest and upfront with it like that. And when I say somebody at the front desk, I'd probably want to talk to a manager. So, because just the random front desk agent, they're not going to tell everybody, so they're not going to make sure that it happens. So I would probably talk to a manager and explain it that way. And so yeah, I don't know, that's my thought about it. Anybody have anything else to add?
I think it also depends on where you're doing it. If you're doing this in Vegas, I think like my understanding is they're a bit more diligent about coming in your room every couple of days or something like that.
And you would think
Um,
that, but
okay, fair enough. But I mean, the other thing that is that if you stick the do not disturb sign on your door, in theory you should be fine, because we decline housekeeping all the time, and you do get the occasional housekeeping team who just ignore that and will knock on your door and ask if you want anything. But we very, very rarely get housekeeping, even when we're staying like 7 to 10 days in a hotel, and we never have kind of any issue about them wanting to check on our room or anything. Like, I don't think we've ever had them wanting to come in just to do like the check that they say that they might. So in theory you should be fine, like at least like mess up the bed or something like that, so if they come in it looks like you have stayed there for at least one night. So make that look like it's been used. But other than that, I'd imagine a 4-night mattress run should be somewhat safe.
Do you have personal maxes of like, I'm not going to push it more than this amount of days? Like, is this person's
no,
range?
it's just no. I mean,
Not talking to the front
I've done them longer. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Now without talking to the front desk. Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think that wraps us up.
Do we need to do an FM to go announcement?
Comment. Yes.
Oh,
Maybe?
Yes. So we back in 2019, we started visiting different towns around the US to meet people in person who wanted to meet us. And the way it worked and what we'd like to get started again is for people who live in an area that would be excited to host us, to you need to be the one who does all the legwork of finding a place where we can meet. Like when we've done them before, it's typically been like a library conference room, so they're usually free, but you know, the person on the ground would like book that library meeting room and would be responsible for finding people in the area who, or knowing that there's enough people in the area that are interested in the hobby that could kind of fill up the room for us, and then we'll come visit you if we can, and do an FM to go. So I know I didn't explain that very well, but I'm going to post details about what I'm talking about here, and we'll provide in the post details about how you can offer basically to host us in your hometown, and we'll see if we can make this happen again. In 2019, I think we did 4 of these. So we've already done San Diego, San Francisco, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia. I think that's all of them. So if you're from one of those 4, sorry, but that's probably, you know, we're probably going to want to try to hit other places first before we go back to those same 4. But yeah, so we hear all the time, like, hey, please come to our town, and we'd love to meet you. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
Tell us where to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and give a thumbs up to this video if you haven't already.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.